Justice slams the Minister of National Security over the issue of crime and bail. He's talking to only one station tonight. The next time you call 911, expect to hear a difference. We tell you of the changes on tap. A parent's worst nightmare. A 3-month-old baby dies at a Flamingo Gardens nursery. Our cameras are there. And the Bahamas aviation safety record said to be the best in the region. It's all coming up this Friday, September 23rd, on the Bahamas Tonight.
Covering the islands of the Bahamas, ZNS Network presents the Bahamas Tonight.
Great to have you along this Friday. This is the Bahamas Tonight. I'm Shanique Miller. There is fallout tonight regarding comments made by National Security Minister Tommy Turnquest concerning the judiciary. In fact, it's sparking a rebuke from the Chief Justice. The exchange began yesterday when Turnquest at a Rotary meeting expressed the view that judges are too liberal in granting bail to repeat violent offenders. The issue centered around a discussion on crime and factors that contribute to the increase, as well as those offenders who commit these acts, many of them while on bail. Today, the Chief Justice wasted no time in responding to those public statements. He spoke exclusively with Clint Watson, who joins me live in studio tonight. Clint, was this a surprise?
I guess the answer probably would be yes, Shanique. It's a usual practice that justices of the courts rarely respond to public criticism. But this time, the Chief Justice thought it important enough to break his silence and state what he calls the facts on the roles of those who administer the law, the judiciary. And Shanique, Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett did so quite strongly.
I was surprised by the remarks of the Minister of National Security. Persons should be very careful when they attack the judiciary and judges. One shouldn't do anything to seek to undermine the person's confidence in the judiciary. Judges have sworn a judicial oath to administer the law of the land without fear or favor, affection or ill will. Persons should be very careful when they attack the judiciary and judges.
Along with this stern rebuke, Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett is adamant that decisions aren't made based on emotions, but rather that justices follow the Constitution of the land as they are sworn under oath.
We are guardians of the Constitution. We decide matters on their merits. We do not decide matters based upon public sentiment, public opinion. We decide matters on the basis of the material that is before the court. We have a balancing act. We have to protect the society, and we also have to protect the individual.
The Chief Justice says the Constitution gives certain fundamental rights and freedoms, the right to a fair trial in a reasonable time and the presumption of innocence.
No matter what heinous crime a person may be accused of, he is entitled to the benefit of law. It can't be that a person is accused of an offense, and regardless of how scanty the evidence against that person may be, that you can simply deprive a person of his liberty. These are all matters that judges must take into account when they make a decision. People must remember that judges live in the community as well. We know what goes on. We see the level of crime as well. We are as concerned as anybody else about the level of crime. But at the end of the day, our judicial function is to be fair, not only to the society, but to the person accused of the offense.
So with a huge court backlog and other challenges plaguing the system, is the judiciary as it is today a contributing factor to the high levels of crime? This is Sir Michael's response.
No question, delays in the administration of justice contribute to an increase in crime. When matters can't be heard in a reasonable time, witnesses become disaffected. Accused believe that there's no point reconciling a matter because it's going to take long to be resolved and it's going to be out. So many things contribute to crime, not just courts. You know, it's not a problem that's peculiar to the Bahamas. It's a problem that is worldwide.
Shanique, the Chief Justice says the issue of crime and the judiciary, as you heard him say, nothing isolated to the Bahamas, but of course a regional one. And he's talked to his regional colleagues who are all grappling with how the judicial system should respond to it. Now, as to Parliament's proposed review of the bail laws, which you know will happen when Parliament opens again. So Michael says whatever is done must be in keeping with the Constitution and our democracy, and must recognize a separation between judges and their judicial function, and must respect the rights of individuals as enshrined in the Constitution. Back to you, Shanique.
Well, Glenn, thank you very much. Well, the rebuke continues. The opposition Progressive Liberal Party also condemning Turnquest. In a statement released late this afternoon, the PLP says Turnquest has admitted the F&M government's paralysis in dealing with the crime crisis for his ill-conceived and untrue comments that magistrates and judges have contributed greatly to the country's crime issues. The PLP claims that judges are working too frequently in poorly equipped courts, and far too frequently, the Attorney General's office is not ready to proceed, which negatively impacts swift trials. The PLP added that if there is fault to be laid, it is at the feet of the government, not the judges. The PLP says instead of attacking the judiciary, the F&M government should be about ensuring that the courts are supplied with the required resources, manpower, and equipment to function efficiently. And by its own yardstick, the F&M has compromised the independence of the judiciary by failing over the past 2 years to review judicial salaries as is required by the Judges Remuneration and Pensions Act. The statement concludes that too many criminals have no respect for our justice system, and we need to remove their sense of impunity, increase the likelihood that they will not be arrested, but persecuted or prosecuted, not just prosecuted, but sentenced, not just sentenced, but sentenced harshly. The PLP says we must be clear, crime and violence will be punished and justice will be swift. Still on the judicial system, extensive renovations in the judicial sector are expected to not only enhance the work of the courts, but also provide a more suitable environment for employees in the sector. This from Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett as he set the record straight following accusations by a local daily that the work environment is below standard. Clint Watson picks up the story.
Terribly misleading. That's how Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett describes an article appearing in a local daily newspaper, inferring that conditions and facilities in the judiciary are unbearable, that employees cannot work. The Chief Justice says the article never described the ongoing works or the reason why Justice Stephen Isaacs had to move from the Senate building, in fact now relocating to the newly renovated Hansard building, or the real issue with Ansbach House, which houses the Supreme Court Registry. He noted that the building is under renovation as 2 new courts are being constructed for the ground floor. He also noted that work is delayed because of heavy rains, which resulting in a leaky roof and a dysfunctional air conditioning system.
As a result of that, the registry of the Supreme Court is going to move from Ansbach House into British American Financials, the BA Financial Center here, where I'm presently located. It's going to be on the ground and first floor. And that will occupy the civil registry, the probate registry, and the family registry. And Ansbach House will be completely vacated to enable the renovations to those buildings to be completed.
By the end of the year, it is expected that 7 Supreme Courts will be in operation in New Providence, 3 in the main Supreme Court building, 2 in Ansbach House, 1 in the Hansard building, and 1 in Safri Square, all capable of conducting criminal trials. The registry began moving Friday.
It'll take time. I suspect it'll take probably about 4 to 5 days, possibly the entirety of next week, to do the move from Ansbach to the registry here in this building. There may be a difficulty in the public looking at some of the files, but you will always be able to file documents in the courts. So any document that is required to be filed in the courts will be able to be filed in the courts during the move. But the move hopefully will be completed by the 1st of October.
The temporary inconvenience is just that, he noted, as it's all a part of an ongoing process and part of the overall renovations.
Nobody wants to work in poor conditions, but things take time. And things are also delayed by weather conditions. As I said, the work in Ansbach House has been delayed as a result of the heavy rains because there was leakage in the roof and water came down and seeped through the building. There was a breakdown in the air condition, and it made very little sense to invest in the air conditioning of Ansbach House when it was clear that you were going to have to move out of Ansbach House in order to complete the renovations of that building.
Now the Magistrates Court complex is almost complete, and they're expected to have folks moved in here by the end of October. And that will alleviate 3 courts that are downtown. And of course, according to the Chief Justice, it'll also alleviate the congregating that takes place outside of those courts in Bank Lane. Clint Watson, ZNS News.
Well, National Security Minister Tommy Turnquest is pressing on undaunted. This time he's announcing plans to enhance the emergency 911 system, and not too soon either. Have you ever tried dialing 911 only to find a busy signal, or even worse, no one answers? Well, the government is taking steps to enhance public safety and the effectiveness of the emergency number. According to Turnquest, plans are underway to upgrade the 911 system.
A major contract will be signed on Wednesday of next week when we'll reveal all of those details. But I do want to say that this will totally enhance the capability of our emergency call, both for the police and other emergency vehicles, and also assist in other regards.
With crime seemingly spiraling out of control in some areas, the 911 system plays a pivotal role in emergency reporting and response. Another concern, the amount of guns entering the country illegally. Turnquest says particular focus will be directed to ports of entry, especially seaports.
The things that we want to look at is that they have to check in when they at the port of entry and sign in their gun, but there's no checkout. And that's one issue that concerns us that we have to look at. And much of what we do at going at that, we have to recognize that we're a tourist country. You know, we don't want to overbear in terms of administration our yachtsmen who are legitimate.
Shifting gears, Prime Minister Ingram at the center of the world's attention. It happened in Washington, D.C. this morning and the annual meeting of the World Bank. The good news is that the World Bank is committing billions of dollars to assist its members in these tough times. The fund now proposes to provide access to $300 billion. This morning, Prime Minister Ingram addressed global leaders, telling them the meeting comes amidst an economic landscape characterized by weak global prospects, considerable uncertainty fueled by a cycle of sovereign risks, and financial system fragility.
Amid resurgent global economic uncertainties, we have become even more aware of the danger of commodity price volatility. High food and commodity prices threaten poor households, adding to social and economic tensions. The bank will spend over $6 billion in the agricultural sector, an increase of over $2 billion from a few years ago, while the IFC launched a new agricultural price risk management tool that will provide up to $4 billion to protect farmers and consumers in developing countries. The fund has undertaken substantial work on the impact of commodity price volatility on policy making, particularly in countries where food constitutes a major portion of the consumer basket.
The Prime Minister told World Bank governors of the action by the World Bank to assist small nation states, in particular those in this region.
This past year, the bank supported its small island state members with the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility and is developing a new Pacific Catastrophe Risk Assessment and Financing Initiative. Additionally, the fund has continued to deliver financial assistance to Caribbean countries, including those hit by natural disasters, and to provide technical assistance by means of the Caribbean Regional Technical Assistance Center. I believe that envisaged enhancements to the fund's financing instruments will enable greater response to the pointed needs of our small and vulnerable middle-income countries, and that we become even more efficient at the delivery of technical assistance given the resources constrained environment. We should recognize the continued efforts of the bank and the fund to reform institutional governance. There is, however, still more to be done.
Prime Minister Ingram told governors that the environment we are in dictates that we continue to make our institutions more flexible, more responsive, and results-driven. He returns home on Monday.